Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
Approved. This morning we're going to start with House Bill 1290, an act to provide for disclosure of certain contents of public-private partnership agreements and to provide a penalty for failure to disclose. I'll take proponent testimony on House Bill 1290.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 1290 is a bill designed to bring transparency to certain projects where large sums of taxpayer dollars are being used in a joint effort with private individuals or companies who will ultimately profit long-term from the arrangement. And sometimes, excuse me, I should have said, my name is Kevin Jensen, representative from District 16. Sometimes it's easier to start with what a bill does not do than to dig into the details right away. This bill does not interfere with any current process or practice in public-private arrangements or agreements for the benefit of the community. This bill does not interfere with the RFP or bid proposal process or any portion of the bid review and award of a contract, and does not hinder the signing of any contract. This bill simply states that if taxpayer dollars are being used to assist in the completion of a project co-funded by private investor dollars, the public has a right to know who will profit from the future operation of that project. The bill only requires that certain information be made available to the public upon request. They are not required to publish or present the information publicly. The triggers for this bill are the $500,000 threshold for the building project, and the private party will operate, control, or profit from the subject of the agreement upon completion. And the subject of the agreement would be the building or whatever kind of structure that they're building. It doesn't refer to anything like buying snow plows or anything like that. This is a co-funded building project. The stipulations that we're asking for are that they would only need to release the subject of the agreement, what the project is for, the amount being expended by the, or anticipated being expended by the public body, the amount being expended by the private person, firm, or corporation pursuant to the terms of this agreement, or to that agreement, the identity of the private person, firm, or corporation, basically just the name. We're not digging into the weeds, we just want the name. And if the private firm or corporation has been in existence in this state or any other state fewer than 5 years, the identity of any person who has a financial interest in the firm or corporation. And if the firm or corporation has been in existence in this state or any other state for 5 years or longer, only the identity of persons with a 5% or greater ownership are required. This also includes pursuant to, or as defined in 5414, immediate family members, or any other firm or corporation to which that individual has ownership. Under current transparency and disclosure rules, if a school board member's family gets the contract to move the snow, the school board member must file a conflict of interest statement, and it must be made public. So we require individuals to disclose a potential conflict of interest for only a few $100s. All of us sitting here around in committee are required to disclose the identity of anyone giving us $100 or more for our campaigns. But as in a situation that this bill addresses, that information can be held from the public. Section 2 of the bill, and this is very important, should not be just skimmed over. It specifically protects certain details of the project, intellectual material, design, research and testing methods, financial and commercial information, proprietary information, or unique business practices. It protects the business practices that make the entity unique and qualified to do the project. So we're protecting the identity of the companies or the LLCs or the corporations. I've met with numerous city officials, large and small communities, and the only reservation they've expressed was maybe a chilling effect it might have on certain investors. Nobody really questioned why we would want to disclose it or really refusing to. And I don't mean to sound harsh, but it's really not the taxpayer's problem. That's the investors, and that's the project problem. If the project is truly for the benefit of the public, investors should be willing to disclose in an act of goodwill. If the project is not for the benefit of the public, maybe it should be chilled. So for the past few years, the taxpayers have been demanding transparency at all levels of government, and rightly so. When taxpayer dollars are spent and private investors profit, how can we justify keeping that information secret? I will stand by for questions. I did not ask anybody to come testify. We'd be really short on time today.
I appreciate that, Jensen, very much. Do we have any other proponents for House Bill 1290? Any other proponents for House Bill 1290?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. David Bordelike, Fresh Bob, the South Dakota Newspaper Association of the Brief. We rise in support of House Bill 1290. It is sort of somewhat of a new concept in terms of transparency and accountability, but I think it's certainly one worth considering and have a discussion about. And as advocates for open government and accountability, we see this as certainly worthy of that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other proponents to House Bill 1290? Seeing none, do we have any opponents to House Bill 1290?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Owen with the South Dakota Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and truth be told, I always like to say lobbyists aren't opposed to the truth, we just don't use it very often. Truth be told, there's this universal uneasiness kind of through the business community about this bill, but it hasn't surfaced as hating it or needing, I'm here to share our concerns. Given yes or no, I'd vote you don't pass it yet, but the bill's well-intentioned and you're busy, so let's do this. I'm concerned that the definition starting on line 7 and 8 don't fit the rhetoric that this is for kind of joint ventures. It specifically says if you're going to profit from the project, granted a large project, but I think that's a little broader than we've been told. Section 3, expenditure of private funds. I hope it is, as the sponsor suggested. I'm not sure the language narrows it that much. We don't understand this 5-year difference. And to go a little further, the disclosure of immediate family may be a little broad. You might be involved in people that aren't even talking to the folks and being disclosed because somebody's involved in a joint venture. I'll leave it at that. And again, good intent. I don't think the language is ready. We encourage you to defeat the bill.
Thank you. Do we have any other opponents to House Bill 1290? Seeing none, then I would, Representative Jensen, do you have any rebuttal that you'd like to present?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The immediate family is described in 5414-12, and the actual definition is a spouse, child, sibling, parent, grandparent, grandchild, step-parent, stepchild, step-siblings, and adoptive relationships. So it's very, very specific to immediately family members. The opponent did mention about the 5-year stipulation on corporations or LLCs. The reason for that is if we look at it, election cycles are typically 4 years. So if an entity is all of a sudden formed under 4 years or within an election cycle, and there's a possibility that an LLC or corporation has family members in there, we think it just needs to drill down and just be a little more specific as to who the members are. And that really, it's not just that simple. If they're in existence over 5 years, they probably existed long before that person ran for office, and there might not be as much chance for conflict of interest. With that, I stand by for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, President Rosen. Yes, please.
Thank you. Why'd you bring this bill? There's got to be a backstory we're not hearing.
I am not in the Sioux Falls district. It's not my district, but I'm in a neighboring district, and a lot of people have talked to me about some of the things that have gone on with certain building projects in Sioux Falls. And I know I've visited with another representative who was a council member there, and was extremely frustrated for several years over the process. This isn't targeted at one individual. I mean, I could have drilled this down to a bill that would have just really addressed one town. It really isn't. The Senate sponsor of this has seen issues in his community, and we actually worked on the language together. Actually, it was the Senate sponsor's idea to put in the stipulations for the 4 years and for the 5 years and less, because of the situation that he's run into. So I think the main reason after I got into it is just, I think that when we look at a school board member's conflict of interest and transparency, but we don't look at the transparency of $1 million projects, I think it's time to look at them.
Brooke, go ahead.
So wouldn't you think this would be better handled at the municipal level with local policy than trying to put it in statute for a one-size-fits-all for all the communities? Because I know that Sioux Falls is pretty well ticked at the mayor.
I would agree with you on that, except the city council in Sioux Falls has tried for years to get it done, and they couldn't.
For you, Mayor.
So,
Yes, Representative Reed.
Representative Jensen, you have a class 6 felony.
yes.
Did you have anything you compared to come up with a class 6 felony? What was your reasoning behind class 6 felony?
Because a misdemeanor, class 1 or 2, is pretty much just a slap on the hands and can be, seriously, if you're talking about somebody making, millions of dollars over 30, 40-year project, a misdemeanor is really not going to deter anybody. A class 6 felony is the lowest class felony. It could deter some shenanigans, maybe some non-disclosure. And I did get a jail estimate on it, and they're basically what they're saying is, for the reason the impact of prison on the jail population is estimated to be negligible. They actually couldn't find any reference to a way to come up with what that might be.
Do you have any further questions by committee members? Okay, seeing none, then I would open up to committee discussion and or action. Mr. Chairman. Representative Kaiser.
Just a couple of quick points on this. I'm supporting the bill. I hope others will as well. In regards to the Class 6 felony, if you look at our current laws on forgery, fraud, or intent to deceive people, they're all a felony level or higher for forgery and fraud. So I think that is appropriate for this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move 41st day.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Representative Rosen, a second by Representative Johns to move to the 41st day. Do you have further discussion?
I have some comments, yes. This has been seething in the paper for a long time, and I realize that, and I know there's a lot of consternation within the city of Sioux Falls. My biggest problem with this is when you have private investors, some want to be anonymous, some don't, I mean, their wherewithal, I don't believe should be public, nor should the families. And that's the beauty of investing, and I know the comment was made, well, that's not the public's problem. You know what? It becomes the public's problem when you don't have private investors that are willing to step up and take the load off the taxpayers. So I think you're really tying the hands of what could happen. Now, and I think this should be a local policy, and I know it's frustrating, I know it takes a long time, I've been in that situation at the city level, but that's where I really think this belongs. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, what we have in front of us then is House Bill 1290, a motion by Representative Rosen, second by Representative Johns to move it to the 41st day. This is an act to provide for disclosure of certain contents of public-private partnership agreements and provide a penalty for failure to disclose. All those in favor of the motion to move to the 41st day, vote aye. All those opposed will vote nay. Secretary will call roll.
Representatives Lust, excused. Dietrich.
Aye.
Barthel.
Aye.
Turbeville.
Aye.
Roseman.
Aye.
Reed.
No.
Peterson.
Aye.
Jensen.
No.
Kaiser.
No.
Bordeaux.
Aye.
Wismer. Aye. Johns.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Nine yea, 3 nay, and 1 excused.
Okay. House Bill 1290 will go to the 41st day on the majority vote to move to the 41st day.
Folks, anybody else want to entertain us?
We don't come up here to entertain you. We come up here to inform you.